Hi there, dance studio owners, and welcome to a brand new series of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Over the coming weeks, we are delighted to be joined by DSOA Dance Studio Growth Coach, Shannon Westveer. During this 6-week special of Transform My Dance Studio, join Shannon in the Coaches Corner as she workshops innovative ideas and solutions around growing the dance studio of your dreams while getting your life back. We hope you enjoy today's special episode. And make sure to join our free Facebook group, the Dance Studio Owners Association, for more resources and support in growing the dance studio of your dreams.
Hello, Dance World. It's Shannon Westveer again, Training and Coaching Manager of the DSOA. I'm so excited to be here with all of you for week 3 of my podcast, taking you back to the basics. Today, we'll get into the juicy part of owning a dance studio, the offering, your budget, marketing, and program offerings. My goal, as always, is that you take something from my past, from the times when I fell down trying, and of course, those times when I had a win, all so you can build a dynamic dance studio. So let's go. Let's get creative and think about what it is your business needs in an effort to run effectively, what your ideal client really wants, and how you can give it to them. Your operating budget, accounting. Listen, I know a lot of dance studio owners, we compete against one another at times, but to this day, I can say without question that my closest friends are within this industry. And I count the number of times on one hand when I have had a financial discussion related to my studio with any of them. It's not what we do, right? It's not what comes naturally for me. And I think about all of the opportunities that I lost not having those discussions. How could I have taken from another studio's financial performance to make my studio better? Or the other way around. For the longest time, I never had an operating budget. I ran my business excited when I felt that I had surplus cash, and I cried my eyes out when payroll was the next day and I knew I wasn't able to cover it. That was the reality of the first 5 years of owning my studio. There wasn't a budget. There were no financial controls. There was no policing downside risk. I had no idea how the result of my decisions compared with other studio owners. There was only hope that I was making the right decisions. All of my energy was focused on building student count and improving instruction. Then one day I woke up. You have to remember that you're a business owner first, a dance studio owner second. Same thing, right? The answer is no. You opened a dance studio because you love dance. The business came along with it. It came first. Think about it. You could have opened a shoe store, a restaurant, or a coffee shop, but you chose a dance studio. You organized the business first, you opened a bank account, and then you began to market and make money. Business owner first, dance studio owner second. And you need to think like one. Without being dedicated to making money, to retaining money, and to planning for the future, guess what? You may not have a business someday. If your studio is going to have a legacy, if you want financial security, push yourself to having structure around your finances. I was lucky enough to have a husband and a partner in life who understood this. He instilled confidence in me around financial management and around the need for budgeting. It made my operational decision making better, and it made my business stronger. It wasn't from the beginning, though. I fell down often. I made mistakes, and I learned along the way. And I want you to learn too. Your operating budget is your roadmap for a specific period in time. Typically, it resets each calendar year. My business, like many dance studios, resets in August, September. For this reason, I always loved the fall months. It was a time for me to reflect on that year and plan for the next. It was comforting to me because it gave me an opportunity to dig in on what we did well and where we fell down. It gave me motivation to make change. It gave me a blanket knowing that I had a roadmap for the next 12 months. I had something that I could rely on to navigate me through uncertainty. It addressed one of my big weaknesses, and it made me stronger. Let me step back for a minute and set the tone for how you can save yourself a lot of time. Technology is your best friend when it comes to all of this. Buy into it. Make an effort to have every part of your tech stack communicate. What do I mean by that? Well, you likely use QuickBooks. You also likely use Jackrabbit or Dance Studio Pro or maybe MindBody. You have one or more bank accounts. You likely have a payroll company. You use credit cards and debit cards. All of these need to communicate in order to optimize efficiency. Require that this happen. If your credit card or your bank account, for whatever reason, can't link up with your accounting program, find a new credit card. Spend the time that is necessary in mapping those income and expense accounts so data that enters your accounting file posts to the correct account. There are ways to do this. When you spend $20 at the gas station, when the expense enters your QuickBooks file, it should know which expense account it goes towards. All of this software needs to reconcile each and every day automatically. And get in the habit of reviewing it just as often. If you do it right, and it is possible, you'll be empowered with a snapshot of where you are at any given time. It seems like a lot, right? You may be thinking that you don't need that kind of financial information so frequently. Well, here's what I learned. Just like walking the dog every morning before work or finding that 15 minutes each and every day to stretch and breathe, this habit is just that. It's a habit. It's something that keeps you on track. It keeps you stable. Even if it is just 5 minutes out of your busy day, do it. Trust me, it works. So now you're getting the data and you can rely on it. Next, clean up your chart of accounts and do it every year. With me, I found that over time, certain accounts would become obsolete, but would stay active within my accounting software. Maybe you had a one-off recital or a masterclass that you wanted to track, so you created an income or an expense account, but you haven't used that account in 2 years. Get rid of it. What's the big deal? Well, if you're staring at a budget that has 50 different accounts, things begin to get complicated. Make your life easy. For most of you, having no more than 15 to 20 total income and expense accounts is more than enough. You don't need an expense account for each and everything that you do. There are other ways to track your operational endeavors without having a new income or expense account created. With fewer accounts, you're able to be hyper-focused on fewer areas where you may be falling down. Again, if this feels like a lot, and it was for me, find someone to help you. Don't ignore this. The sooner you realize that your budget is there to guide you to make educated decisions about your business, the sooner you will make the time to understand your revenue and your expenses. After you have a budget that you can stand behind and you want to see through, you're going to find yourself caring more when you're over budget $300 in office supplies. Why did this happen? Fix it. Dig in. I get it. It is easy for us creative types to push the numbers aside and just focus on the fun stuff. But remember, business first, studio second. Next, build it out. Take your chart of accounts and begin to put numbers to it. I use 3 simple words when working on my budget: history, reality, and desire. So let's do it. History, rule of thumb. If you paid for it last year, and if you did not make plans to change that trend that has recent traction, expect to pay for it again. As an example, if you had 10% of your annual payroll this year that turned to overtime pay, and if you didn't make a new hire to address it, if you didn't identify this earlier and fix it, expect to pay for it again next year. Be conservative here. Don't expect that things are going to turn around simply because it's a new year. If you didn't fix it, if there is no momentum around change, expect to pay for it again. Move through each income and expense account for the year month by month. You'll end up with a preliminary budget that looks a lot like your actual year-end results. Next, reality. things do change. COVID, new location, new employees, growth. It all impacts the reality of what next year will look like. Add this in. There is going to be some level of guessing here, and that's okay. Again, be conservative. If you brought on new teachers, there likely is an expectation of additional revenue to offset it. Fantastic news. But expect the same margins of revenue to salary that exists in other areas of your business. This is also a good time to pad some of those expense accounts, even if you didn't recognize this expense last year. I find it a good tool to quickly review the last 3 to 5 years of your expenses. As an example, maybe window washing. You didn't do it last year, but it's a to-do next year, so add it. Lastly, desire. Where are you going? What are your top 5 operational goals that could move the needle? This is all wish. It's not reality. But again, that's okay. A part of your budget, in my opinion, should include financial goals that are a bit out there. Make this impact no more than a 5 to 10% variance from where you last left off. Don't have your desire be a budget that doubles your business. Don't add revenue associated with your second location when you don't yet have a definitive plan to have one. This is not your 5-year goal. This is next year. Be excited for what you add here, but keep it in line with the reality of where you're at and what you can accomplish. So you're done. Are you profitable? Are you upside down? Are you making an amount of money that is acceptable to you? Don't approve a budget that does not get you to where you want to be. I work with too many people who have budgets that don't make sense. What's the point? Whether you take a profit first approach, whether you report on accrual or cash numbers, that doesn't matter. When you get done and you're able to say, I have a budget, make it a budget that you can believe in. That is profitable for your business, that is based in reality, and that makes you proud of the business that you have worked so hard on. Lastly, with regards to your budget, let's talk briefly about the review process, because as soon as you're done creating it, you'll be staring at this every day, right? First off, there is likely a way of uploading your budget to your accounting software. You can then create reports that show how you're performing month to date and year to date. It's important that you treat your budget as an intuitive guide. You can change it, and you should change it. If you fall down or you get behind, it's a reset. Sit down and make changes that are appropriate. So many people think that a budget is the one and only expectation of annual performance. It may be, but it doesn't have to be the same piece of paper that you started with. Pivot, make changes, but always remember to make changes that you can stand behind. Your budget should provide an expectation of costs associated with marketing your studio. Where does it go? What's the plan? Marketing is another area that not all studio owners are good at. There's a natural comfort with kids who are students, but finding them, getting them in the door, it can be tough. It takes a good plan, knowing your student and parent avatars, and of course, an appropriate amount of money to really market your business in the right way. For years, as a young studio owner, I always felt like we did good with just the word of mouth. The students continued to come, but as we continued to grow, that didn't seem to be enough. And at the time, I was so naive, expecting everyone in the city of Chicago to just magically know about our studio. And then there was a leap of faith into a much larger space. How are we going to attract the masses? We needed broader outreach. So we started to dabble a little in advertising. And mind you, this was well before Instagram and Facebook. Even with my marketing background, it was challenging to know where exactly to spend our money. Advertising to parents of children is not easy. And what we found was the obvious solution. Have our students and parents market for us. The single best thing we did at the time was to begin to perform at street fairs and donate to our students' schools for birthday parties, classes, and summer camps. This may seem like a hefty cost of your time, but it works. It works well. If you recall from my earlier episode, being friends with your students' friends is important. Find ways into their inner circles. Empower your students in representing your studio. They are your students. They naturally want to brag about their time with you. Simply put, your existing client base is your single best way of bringing on additional students. It's stronger than social media, it's better than billboards, and it's cheap, relatively speaking. As a quick example, if you provide free birthday parties for your students, you are getting an amazing opportunity at 10 new students. Think about it. You can send out 500 flyers, spending money blindly, or you can invest into the children that are already within your doors. Be creative. Use what you already have to attract attention. I found out quickly that with a simple first class free certificate placed within a birthday party grab bag, I was getting multiple new students out of a single gathering. I'm empowering my students. I'm playing into what they are already proud of. I'm providing a value add for my parents, and I'm making people happy. So it's a win-win. Dig deep into diversifying your programs and building your customer journey. You see, I always thought that I wanted to own a dance studio where moms could work out in one room while their child took a fun dance class next door. Little did I know that the studio I walked into when I was 29 years old would become a version of that. Our adult program was the foundation of our studio early on. I walked into the studio a year after it started based on a referral from a friend to try out an adult cardio class. I did my research, and I knew that the kids program was only a small part of the studio at that time. And that began my 14-year relationship with one of my greatest loves in life outside of my family. After coming on board with this Chicago-based studio, I realized that the adult component of a dance studio was more challenging than I had expected. Adults are finicky and unreliable when it comes to committing to a dance session. You could have a booming class of 20 or a somber class of 2. Either way, the show must go on, and so began my mindset of where my true passion was and had always been: kids. Their pure joy, laughter, and sometimes piercing screams as they ran into their classroom was either a rush or a crush, depending on the day I had had. But nonetheless, always put a smile on my face and made me feel like a mini celebrity. My goal in building the recreational program was to be as diverse as possible in order to capture as many kids as possible. I started by adding a Mommy and Me program along with a variety of combo classes for ages 3 to 10 into the mix. This, of course, brought on the need to build our staff, which I will discuss in my next episode of Leadership and Team. I was instilling a fresh twist into every class and was gaining knowledge from being a mom and having friends with young kids in order to know the music that would make them want to dance instead of sit and roll around on the floor. This became one of my superpowers. I was able to pull from my years of teaching various age groups, personalities, and socioeconomic groups in order to create the class that gave the parents and kids exactly what they wanted. A fun-loving environment where each child could dance their heart out, learn skills, and all while hearing their favorite song. This also made the parents happy as they sat in our tiny lobby while hearing the loud music flowing out through the double doors that were not so soundproof. I felt that I was in my creative prime during these first 4 years of building this studio and its client base. I was also building my family and struggled across all aspects of being a parent and seeing the writing on the wall of becoming a co-owner in this not so tiny studio anymore. It was fun, but a lot of work, and I was growing tired of working the desk every Friday night until 9 p.m. It was time for a shift, something I would not have expected. In the summer of 2010, when we were planning our move to a bigger location, I saw a need for our 7 to 9-year-old dancers and siblings of our company dancers to have more dance in their lives, and the parents, they really wanted that too. What I considered to be my third baby was born, the Starlet program. I began to see a shift in our dancers and community at the studio. We were going into our 6th year of business, and the kids were gaining technique and dedication to dance as, quote, their thing. There was a group of friends that had danced together with me since they were 3, and I had fallen in love with each and every one of them and their spunky personalities. For the first time, I felt like I had trained a tribe of dancers to begin to look at the studio as their second family and to continue to build on lifelong friendships. This eventually became one of our core values, friendship. We found that many dancers wanted to be a part of a team, and not for the sake of competition, but for the camaraderie, fun, and skill set that it would provide. Once I understood that, well, the rest was easy. I created 2 groups of dancers based on age, technique level, and, yes, I hate to admit it, but friend groups. Their uniforms were bright pink and purple leotards, pink tights, and black skirts, and black ballet shoes for ballet, black leggings and tan jazz shoes for jazz, and a fun tank top for hip hop. The first year started with an invite letter, and the rest I will leave for, well, next time. Please join me for episode 4 when I will continue the evolution of our program offerings, which then leads into the topic I thrive off of, leadership and team. Thank you for coming along on this journey. There is nothing that is more important than establishing a culture, bringing people up, and establishing the group of individuals that can take your business to the next level. On behalf of the DSOA and the dance world that defines us, see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Don't forget to join us over in the Dance Studio Owners Association Facebook group for more resources and support in growing the dance studio of your dreams while reclaiming your life.